All right, so I got some time in the truck today, so I want to talk to you guys about pricing for built-ins. Most of what we do now is built-ins, right? So whether it's living rooms or mud rooms or drop zones or coffee bars or whatever, we kind of found our niche. We started with furniture. We still do furniture, and we love to build furniture when we can. But most of what we do now is cabinets. So the questions we get is, well, how much does this cost? And a lot of times there's a lot of confusion from clients that are inquiring with us as to why we have the prices that we do. Most of our built-ins for the average project range between $5,000 and $10,000. Sometimes it's a little less, but not often. And sometimes it's a little more, and it just depends on the setup, how big it is, how many drawers there are, what's the layout, what is the lumber, is there different elements that add more cost, right? But I would say as an average, $5,000 to $10,000, which to me, I mean, obviously I'm a biased, person in all this, but that seems very reasonable because I know how much labor goes into it. But a lot of folks are like, gosh, how does it cost $5,000? I was like, So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that and why it is that our work costs what it does, but also why I think that sometimes there's some confusion right now in the market. So the confusion, I believe, and people's understanding of what we do mostly comes from the do-it-yourselfers and the blogger types that, the big push for a lot of these people, whether they're on YouTube or doing a little blog or something on the internet, is to make things look affordable and easy. In other words, anyone can do it and it doesn't take that much effort, and that's just not the truth. It really isn't. They're giving you a very silver lining type of a rendition of what's going on with that project. And if it is fast and it is cheap, it's probably not good. And so that's one element of confusion. The other element of confusion is there's somebody out there who will work for next to nothing. And a lot of times they do not have the overhead of a large shop. Well, you need a large shop to produce custom woodwork well. Our large shop allows us to, for instance, to do finish work. We have a separately partitioned area of our shop where we do all of our spraying. And I've seen a lot of built-ins presented on the internet where it's obvious they were all built on site, which usually means they're out of square. And two, like they're all finished on site with a foam brush roller, and you like to get away with that with face frames. We do touch-up work on face frames and rollers at clients' house often. But doors, you can't paint doors and have them looking well. So there's a lot of confusion, right, as to how things should be done. Whether it's not fast, it takes a lot of time, and it's not cheap because of the overhead that's needed to have a proper cabinetry making business. So, the folks that are running around the truck, hey, I'm not trying to dog them, they're doing the best they can, but a lot of times they'll take lesser price points just because to them it's a great paying job. It's like, oh man, I'll take $4,000. Most of the jobs I do only get $2,000. But what happens is they get stuck in a job, right, with either an angry client because they're not producing the work that the client thought that they were going to get in their little pretty Instagram picture they use for the reference picture to this person, or the even worse, the contractor realizes that they're in over their head. And that's an even worse situation to be in, because now they're in a job that they realize they've taken too little money for. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll either scurry up and hurry as fast as they can to kind of make up for their loss and ignorance there about what they should have charged, and then they'll just do awful work, or they'll just literally leave. I've seen both over the years where someone will call me and say, hey, this dude just totally left us with this huge problem, can you come and finish it? And that's a tough place to be in as a client. A lot of times these people that work out of their trucks that don't have an actual street address where you can find them, a lot of times they're just good honest people, right? Like there's people out there, right, that are just good honest people that are growing their business. This is not a video to dog people working out of their trucks at all. Hey, keeping your overhead low is smart, right? And some of them will do a great job, but every now and then you get one of these guys that's like, you never see them again. How do you find them? Is there, they don't have an address. So they run with deposit money, they run off a job, and you can't find them to hold them liable to finish the work. These folks are rampant right now, and we're quoting sometimes a $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 price point for a set of living room built-ins, and they're coming in at $4,200. Well, there's a reason why, right? A lot of it is ignorance on their part too about what it should cost, and they're really confusing the market of reputable shops. Not just Jesus was a carpenter, but there are a lot of other reputable shops in our area that do custom cabinet work. So you've really got to be careful about who it is that you hire. You've got to be careful about pricing. We all know this, that cheaper doesn't always mean better, and I know that everyone is doing the best they can right now to make it work in this crazy economy. But even in this economy, I think this is one of the best times to hire a company. You know, we used to be able to catch jobs at a much higher labor rate during the previous times of our country, and we've had to lower our labor rate just to become more enticing to folks during this economy. So it's actually the best time to hire Jesus as a carpenter. It's not the worst time. Materials are actually really reasonably priced right now. They're almost down to pre-COVID rates, which is great. So, you know, this is not a video to tell you that Jesus was a carpenter is expensive. It's a video to explain to you why custom woodwork should be expensive, right? Why is it that we have a large shop? Well, it's expensive, so it obviously raises our overhead. But you need a large shop to do cabinetry work. For one, you need the space, right? We've got a separately partitioned area that we spray our cabinets in. We spray everything on that we can in our studio before we deliver to a client's home. So not only does that mean less time in the client's home, but mainly it means a much better product. I have seen a lot of people deliver cabinets or show pictures of their finished built-ins that they've done in a client space, and it's obvious they built the entire thing and finished and painted it in that client space. You can see all the brush strokes, you can see the wispiness, you can see where the paint wasn't applied thick enough so it didn't self-level into a good coat, which is difficult to do with a brush and roller setup. And so, you know, those things just do not equal a good finish. And a reputable cabinet shop knows that you must spray as much as you can at the shop before you deliver. Do we do touch-up paint? Do we roll in a client space? Most certainly. Yeah, we roll shiplap or things of that nature. We brush on the final coats of paint on like crown, face frames, small thinner items, but doors, no, all that has to get done at the shop. You know, there's just some things you just can't do. You can't spray sealant onto a countertop and have it looking good in a client's home, or roll it. It needs to be sprayed where a good thick coat goes on that self-levels. Another thing you need to look for when you're looking at who to hire is two things. One, do they have insurance? They should have full insurance to protect you in the event that there's an issue at the home. The second thing, and this has been huge for me lately, listen, if they can't get back to you quickly with a quote, why would you want to hire that person? I've had a lot of times lately where we'll get back to someone same day or very quickly thereafter, their initial inquiry with a free remote estimate without even having to come on site most times. And I've got a quote to them in their message box within a day. And they're like, okay, well, we need to get a couple more quotes, so we'll get back to you. And I'm waiting, sometimes weeks. Listen, I'm gonna look at the camera best I can. Why would you hire someone that takes a week, 2 weeks to give you a quote? How does that bode confidence to you? And I've heard, oh, they must be really busy, and that's why they can't give me a quote, or they must not want our work. It's probably neither. They're probably just that dysfunctional. Look, it should never take anyone longer than a couple days to get back to you with a quote. You know, we all have special circumstances, but waiting for someone, I've got one quote out right now where they're waiting on someone that came and did a site visit 2 weeks ago, and they're waiting on this person to give them their quote. I'm like, why? They're obviously not coming, and if the quote comes that slow, how is the woodwork going to go? You know, so just some things to think about. We're not perfect. We don't do things perfectly, but I think, you know, I'm trying to share some insights about things I've seen to help people, right? Look at reviews. Look at, have they done built-ins before? Because anybody who's working on the garage would love to do a set of built-ins, because they're also watching these blogs and YouTube videos and thinking it's easy. But thinking you could do it and actually having done it before are two totally different things. You know, built-ins are a pretty serious thing. It's a lot of work. It's a ton of work. It is not the most difficult thing to do, especially after you've done several, right? But there's a lot of learning curve to it, and so you don't want to be the guinea pig of somebody else's learning curve when it comes to something as expensive as built-ins. And yes, they are costly, but they do add not only function and beauty to your home, but they do add value. I never left a job after charging a client and getting their project to them and thought, oh wow, we really got the good out of them on that one. Boy, I overcharged them like crazy. No, I always work every single labor hour or more that we have invoiced them for, and a lot of times I work over and of course don't invoice because we care about product. And I've never felt like I did not add an equivalent amount of equity to their home as to what they gave me in terms of finances for the project, if not more equity. So this is a great time to call us. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. We've never been cheaper in our price points. We've never been cheaper in our labor rate. We have excellent craftsmanship at this point. We've really dialed in our processes. We've gotten leaner. You know, this economy has forced us to get sharper. It's a great time to call us. And so, you know, some of this video is just telling you that, you know, give us a call. We will give you a fair price and we'll deliver the right product the first time. Thanks for watching. God bless.